To be honest, I only failed twice in my entire life. The second one happened recently, so it's still, a sore point for me. But in this video, I brought you some tips that will guide you towards a successful exam. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome. So a successful exam, this is kind of like the whole point of this video. But the thing is, before we jump into this video, I just wanted to highlight what a successful exam is. So a successful exam does not equal 100%. When I tell you the tips that I use throughout my whole life to pass every exam, because eventually I passed the first exam that I failed. The second one I still need to pass in the future, so I'm going to be using exactly the same tips. But the thing is that every single time I passed an exam, it was not 100% and it was still successful. So the zero step that I want you to do is to identify what is a success to you. For me, because I'm a perfectionist and I'm not sorry about that, for me, a successful exam is a 90 plus. Depends, because now I'm doing my master's degree in the Netherlands, where of course getting 100% is crazy hard. So here I have a little bit lower expectations towards myself. But if I go back to high school, then it was literally 90% plus. In my bachelor, it was, I would say, 80% plus. And in my master's, it's more or less 70% plus. The thing is that I define success based on what I want and based on my circumstances. So in the Netherlands, getting a 10 is insanely hard, especially at a master's degree. So when I came here, I was not like, oh my gosh, I got an 8, what a disaster. I was like, okay, that's very good. This is the zero step, because you simply cannot always aim for 100%. The second, or technically the first thing, is to plan on time, right? So if you want to pass an exam, that's a different story, right? If you want to pass an exam, I can make a video about that. It's just that I'm really not this type, because I always plan on time and I just cannot study 2 days before the exam. But basically, if you want to have a successful exam and not just pass, which again, for some people, passing the exam is already successful. I fully give you that. Especially if you also failed once, then yeah, the second time you just want to pass. You don't care about the grade anymore. But let's just go with the successful one. So you have to plan on time. What does it mean? So I know I have an exam, assume on June 1st. Okay. So I will probably start studying for that exam a month before or 2 months before. This all depends on your prior knowledge. What is your goal? How much is the thing that you have to study and how much time you have? So if it's, I don't know, very hard medical exam, you might need more than a month. But if it's about 3 chapters of a book, you might need only a week, Also, if you have a job, you might need more time, because in the meantime, you have to work. If you don't have a job, maybe you can study the same amount in a few weeks before. So really, who knows themselves better than people themselves? Just try to plan on time. On time means you check what you have to study, you check what you know already, you check how much time I'm going to have, and you say, okay, what is my goal? The higher you want, the more time you have to spend, obviously, on studying. Second thing is that when you fail an exam, and I'm speaking of experience from my 2 failures, after that, I didn't even want to look at the material. I was like, I just have PTSD. I don't want to look at it. But the thing is, if you don't look at it, you cannot prepare for the resit. So the second thing is that you have to prioritize. You have to put this exam above everything else. Why? Because you already failed once. I don't know about you, but not a lot of times you have the opportunity to take an exam 4 times, In my bachelor, we could take the exam 3 times. Now I can take it 2 times. So the second time is my final time, and that makes me really, really, really stressed. Like, you have no idea. But the thing is, this is why I prioritize it. This is why I tell myself, I don't care what's going on in your plate, you have to sit down and you have to study. because you just don't get other chances. If you can do it 3 times, you are very lucky. Then, the second time you can still slack off a bit because you still have a third time. But trust me, you don't want to do that the third time, because then you're going to be like what I am right now, that I only have one more chance. And that is very scary. The third thing is to identify weak links. So one thing that you can do is, if you have the opportunity, to check your exam. What did you fail? So I don't know what exam you failed if you're watching this video, or if you didn't fail, you're very lucky. But the thing is that if you study and you know that, okay, for example, I'm very bad with definitions, then maybe spend a little bit more time on the definitions than on the practical things. Or you say that I'm very bad with the last topic that we learned, then, study for the first ones and then leave the last topic a little bit longer time. Instead of a week, for example, 2 weeks. Or try to, for example, you can now use ChatGPT for these things, but you can just easily upload the material and then just say, give me a random quiz. Do that random quiz with someone else, and then if they ask questions, they can highlight, okay, you didn't know the topic about, I don't know, anatomy, or you didn't know the topic about international business, but you knew the topic about general business, so then you know that, okay, I have to focus more a little bit on international business, or I have to focus more on anatomy instead of other parts of the study. Because if you know your weak links, you will not be unprepared to go into the exam. And if the first question is about anatomy, you will know that because you already knew that's your weak link, and you spend a little bit more time to prepare for that. The fourth one, and I literally do this, otherwise I could not study for the exam, is that I block time in my agenda. So whether it is in an online calendar like Google Teams, or it is on paper like in an actual calendar, just block the time. Just say that every weekend from this time to this time, I'm going to be studying. Or say every week before I go to sleep from 6 till 8, I'm going to study for this. Or every morning, I'm going to start my day from 9 till 12 studying this. The moment you block it in your calendar, it's going to be visible, especially if it's an online calendar. You can put a reminder, which I do. I put a reminder, okay, in 20 minutes, I need to start studying. And I'm preparing to study. I'm like, okay, let's get my computer, let's get my exercise book. Let's turn off my phone, whatever, I study. And that time that I block is only for study. It's not for work, it's not for gym, it's not for my friends. No, it's for study. And the fifth one is connected to my thesis motivation video. If you didn't see that, I'm gonna leave the link here. Make it desirable. So this is very hard, especially if you already failed an exam. Because how do you make something desirable that already caused you misery, right? And to be honest, I'm also really, really, really trying hard to think, how can I make my recent exam desirable? I haven't started studying for it yet, but it's way later in the future. So I'm like, I really don't know how to make that desirable, but I think I have a gist of how I want to do it. So how can you make something desirable? Okay, maybe you can study with your friends, right? Especially if it's more people who prepare for the same exam or more people who failed. Trauma keeps us together, right? The second thing is, what I really like to do is that depending on the topic, there are these online materials, for example, a video. And in videos, they always explain everything way more easier than the actual textbook. So, I just put on a video when I cook, or I put on a video before bed. So I listen to it. It's still, active studying because I'm still listening, but it's not stressful like, oh my gosh, you have to write down every single word. No, it's more, you just chill. You just, okay, I'm going to write this down. Okay, this is a nice information, and that's going to stuck in my head. So to make it desirable is basically just don't look at it as studying. And I know it's very hard. Create a space for yourself, which is your own space, is a comfortable place with your comfort clothes, with your comfort food, with your comfort music, and then just, enjoy. For example, I remember I had a very, very hard exam in December, and I literally thought I was gonna fail. It was December, and Christmas is my favorite holiday. So what I did is that I put on a Christmas playlist in the background, and I was studying literally next to the Christmas tree. And I got the highest, not the highest, the second highest grade of my all exams since September. And I was like, I fully believe that the only reason I did that because I made studying so desirable that when I was studying, I knew it's time for a Christmas tree, it's time for a Christmas music. And because of that, I didn't look at it as, oh, I have to study. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to study. So there are so many ways that you can make it desirable based on what you want, based on how you are, based on, what you want from your life. But this is very, very easy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck. If you do a resit because you failed and you want to have a successful exam, I wish you a lot of luck. If you just clicked on this video because you want a successful exam anyways, I'm still very happy. I'm also very happy that you're here, and I'm also wishing you a good luck. We got this. I want to know everybody passed the exam that they are afraid of. So we got this. We got this. I'm gonna see you guys in my next video. Have an amazing week. Bye bye.